Wearing that striped shirt that makes me look even fatter than I am. Oh well, who cares? Can't polish a turd, right? That's what they say. Even though this pertains mostly to practical matters, it is still pure metaphysics, and it is truth by consensus. And there's no greater evil than truth by consensus. The motto that I live by, which is my own motto, is that nothing true is popular, and nothing popular is true. Now, there are obviously some minor exceptions to this, kind of like there is general consensus that you shouldn't lay a hand on like old folks in wheelchairs, something like that, for example. Which of course we all have truth on that, and that is also to consensus. So don't point out outliers like that. For example, I like to point out a couple of them, and these are ones that I specialize in, but there's so many, countless thousands. Atomism and the Termanada. And also, too, I'd like to point out stuff on YouTube. You could always tell, well, at least I can, other people can't, obviously so, that if it's incredibly popular, then it's nothing but a bunch of nonsense. And I'm not merely just referring to the most popular YouTube channels, but I'll use them as an example, even though when making this video I wasn't planning on it. But they really are kind of a perfect example. The top 3 YouTube photography channels, for example. These people are about nothing other than affiliate links and lining their pockets. Everything they say is unintelligent, it's not useful, it's counterproductive. And they really don't know what they're talking about. I mean, they absolutely do not know what they're talking about. And not referring to them, and I don't really watch other YouTube channels, believe it or not. I don't, like, unless a lot of people tell me, oh, check out so-and-so's new video. But the top channels on physics, and I don't want to mention the guy's name, starts with a V, and he's got like 7.5 million subscribers. This guy does nothing other than regurgitate, as this vomitous effluence that pours from his mouth, which is nothing other than a, horrific regurgitation of existing, agreed-upon, peer-reviewed consensus. He goes around and he makes some nice, polished videos, and you can really fool the unintelligent people with highly polished videos. I mean, you could fill them with the most inane garbage imaginable, so long as they're edited well and they're dazzling for the eyes to look at. And that, of course, is the mind trap for unintelligent people. I mean, it really is. There are so many of them, but that's absolutely one of them. Anyway, this guy's got 7.5 million subscribers. And I was going to make a video on the dual slit experiment right after this, and I thought, before making this video, I want to see what this unintelligent quasi-human being said about it, because he makes a video about every point or topic in physics, and just the most inane, horrific, unimaginable drivel imaginable. Also, too, when people use the word peer-reviewed, when you say peer-reviewed, this is substantially no different than saying consensus. If consensus were true, then you should join the most popular religion. Well, there's a lot of people. This has got X number of billion followers. It's got to be true. I got approached at a photography conference. So who sells the most digital cameras? And I told the truth. I said, well, Sony actually does. Well, there you go. And this unintelligent person thought that, well, that's proof right there. This guy agreed with me. So he just walked off. But he had no idea within his own unintelligent mind that that doesn't mean anything. Absolutely not. This is the reason why trash has to scream. And things that are wise and great don't. I mean, you don't see TV commercials for Rolex. I mean, Rolex might have a TV commercial. But you don't see commercials for, name a really expensive car, Lamborghini, what are those other really, really expensive ones that the mega millionaires drive? They're, I forget what they're not Bentleys, or something else like that. You never see a commercial for them because trash screams. It has to announce itself, and quality and truth, does not. People that actually have minds that could, push away the trash will always find the gold and the truth in things. Another important point is that no consensus has ever made an invention or a discovery, ever. There's never been like a group of scientists that have collectively made a discovery. Now there have been ones that have contributed to this and contributed to that, but no, someone actually has started off with an idea or a train of thought. This is how we're going to reach the goal, and they might have several people build devices or whatever that will reach. But no individual has ever made an invention or a discovery. There's no such thing as truth by consensus. Anything that there is a consensus upon cannot be true by definition. The same is true in atomism, but before I go on to atomism, I'd like to mention anatta. Pali word is anatta. I've been translating ancient Pali now. It's a early Indo-Arya language of ancient India. Anyway, I'm doing it for over 20 years. If you do a Google or a Bing search, just type in anatta, A-N-A-T-T-A, or the corresponding Sanskrit term, which is anatman. So anatta means that there is no soul, and this is why Buddhism is unique to anything else in India, because Buddhism teaches there is no soul. Well, that's not only not true, it's absurdly untrue. It's not my opinion it's untrue, or feeling, or belief. It's palpably, existentially, empirically untrue. The term anatta has 576 occurrences. It is used as a pejorative. It is a via negativa neti via apophatic methodology for arriving at subjective synthesis through objective negation. This is not the soul, that is not the soul, on and on and on. The term is never used by itself. It is a pejorative set of other things. Rupa anatta, Veda anatta, Sankara anatta, Vinya anatta, Nama Rupa anatta. Why am I speaking in ancient dead language no one's used for thousands of years? None of you understand me. Anyway, the point being is that you think this is egotistical, and I don't really care. There is nobody on this earth, not a single person, not my feeling, it's fact, not a single person on this earth that knows more about that term than I do. Nobody. I will debate anybody on that topic, and I will tap dance on top of their head while doing so. And yet, every website, well, 99.9999999% of them say the same thing. Anatta means there's no soul, is why Buddhism is unique. Everything else in India, Buddhism taught fundamental core teachings is that there's no soul. It's absolutely not true. The only thing that's called nityam or eternal is the soul. It's called the light or dipa. Atta sarana, nana sarana, the soul is a refuge, is none other is a refuge. Atta dipa ko saranam gati. Go with the light as your refuge. Go with the soul as your light and refuge, excuse me. I'm thinking about 10 things at once. And here's a perfect example of consensus. You find any Buddhist, just go call a Buddhist from you. Hey, what is the term anatta? Anatta means there is no soul. No, Buddhism's unique because it teaches there is no soul. Well, that makes no sense. There's no soul. There's no such thing as liberation. There's no such thing as transcendence. There's no such thing as paramum sukham or ultimate bliss. And on and on and on and on. Buddhists, by the way, know nothing about Buddhist doctrine because they never study it. That's also, too, another fact. They never study it. They don't. And the ones that do study it only study commentary or what their teacher said. I'm only interested in what the original said, or the oldest, and the oldest is original, it's pre-sectarian. It's found in the 5 Nikayas, Digha Nikaya, Majjhima, Gotara, Kudako Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya. Anyway, on to atomism. The greatest minds of field theory, a la Tesla, James Clerk Maxwell, Faraday, Steinmetz, Heaviside, Eric Dollard, others. These were not atomists. The ancient Greeks destroyed atomism thousands of years ago, yet it sprung up again, of course. Everything moves in cycles. The consensus among physicists is that everything's particles and all interactions are bumping particles. This is why I call it the cult of bumping particles. We all grew up with this nonsense, watching Star Wars and Star Trek. You remember Star Wars? Everything was a particle problem with a particle solution. Captain, we've got negative tachyon particles bombarding our lepton around. Well, turn on the deflector dish and bombard them with subneutrino antiproton quasi-tachyon. It was always a particle problem and a particle solution. Uh, oh, they even had a particle for time, the chronoton. Chronoton particles. Oh, the graviton particles. Oh my God, as if absolutely hilarious. This is within the zeitgeist or intellectual ethos of humanity's skull today, and it is a type of insanity. It has nothing to do with the truth, and there's no such thing as truth by consensus. And current consensus is atomism is true, and it's absolutely not true. It can't explain the universe. It's self annihilating because it can't explain instantaneous action at a distance. It can't explain what a field is. It doesn't even explain what energy is. It can't explain anything. It fundamentally doesn't even understand what light is. All of current quantum, by the way, the word quantum, the root quantity, yeah, means if you can't count it, it doesn't exist. And if I can't count it, I don't believe it. It's kind of like a metaphysical atheist. Well, if I can't see it and analyze it underneath the microscope, it doesn't exist. Well, subject precedes object of negation. They are like the fool that steps outside of their own house and then looks in the window and says, well, nobody lives here. It's like, a metaphysical atheist is no different than someone who were to tear apart a radio. And it's like, would have a metaphysical atheist, say, of the 17th century. He hears little voices coming out of a box. And they tear the radio apart looking for the little human beings inside. Well, you're not going to find one. It's the same thing as a metaphysical atheist were to take a body apart, and looking for the soul. There's no soul inside here. Well, there's no signal inside of a radio either. Yet everybody with a half a brain knows it. It's the same thing as people that deny ghosts, for example. Ghost is not metaphysics, but it is metaphysics, but it's a hardcore retroductive logic. All the Platonists and Aristotelian, Neoplatonic, and Pythagorean scholars admitted that disembodied beings exist. To someone, and I'm just using this as a side note, for someone to stupidly think that I don't believe in God, I don't care what anybody believes in. Those are always famous last words of an unintelligent person. I don't believe in ghosts. Well, who cares what you believe in? For them not to admit of the existence of same is as stupid as someone not admitting to a signal sans the radio. Well, the radio and the broadcast exist, but I don't believe in signals or broadcasts, in the ether. It's like, somebody get this straight. You believe in the radio and the signal that comes out of the radio, but you don't actually believe in the signal itself. No, I don't. Because that's 100% palpably identical to people that think that life exists but not the spiritus sanctum or the animus. By the way, animal means, the word itself, animal, means has a soul. That's what the word animal means. It means it has a soul. But if you take that analogy too far, a radio doesn't have a signal. There's no soul in the body. It's not a refutation of the soul, any more than it's a refutation of the signal to say there's no signal in the radio. And of course there's no signal in the radio, but that's not a refutation of the signal. It's the consubstantiality of the two that make for the broadcast. The broadcast is the consubstantiality of the signal and the radio, just as life is the consubstantiality of matter, the psychophysical, and of course the spirit or soul. But there's no such thing as truth by consensus. If it's popular, it's not true, and if it's true, it's not popular. No invention or discovery has ever been made by consensus. It has never, ever happened. There are many people that have contributed to a discovery, like build this and build that, and we're going to build this ultimately. That has happened, but no discovery or invention has ever happened by consensus or group. Never has. Never will be either. Great minds do not work collectively. That's why the greatest minds throughout all of history have been individuals or loners. Tesla! Yeah, Aristotle, Plato, Pythagoras, Plotinus, on and on and on and on. So, anyway, I hope you like this video. If you do, any donation is greatly welcome, because I don't sell anything. And I spend an awful lot of time answering questions and emails and phone calls. And thank you so much for watching. Okay? And goodbye.